right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies might have inspired it. And today it's part 2 of our FilmQuest 2025 coverage. And joining me is Jake Myers, director of Kombucha, to talk about Appofeniacs, and then we're also going to talk about his film. So we're getting kind of a twofer today, talking about 2 feature films that played over there at FilmQuest 2025, and we'll get into a lot of great stuff for both of these movies. Before we get to it, I want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at PiecingPod. And always make sure, if you're here in Las Vegas, to check out piecingpod.com to find out about our upcoming live shows. We've got one this Thursday on The Running Man. We've got one next Thursday on Sisu Road to Revenge. So enter to win some tickets, and we'll see you at the movies. And with that said, let's talk about Appofeniacs and Kombucha. All right, Jake Myers is with us. How's it going, Jake?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great. I'm excited to get into some FilmQuest madness. Have you been enjoying your time over there at the festival?
Yeah, I was there the first weekend. I was there with my film Kombucha.
Right on, right on. And I'm excited to talk about Kombucha. We're going to talk about that in a little bit here. And speaking of which, give my listeners a little introduction to you and what you do.
Great. Yeah, I'm Jake Myers. I directed the movie Kombucha. It's a feature-length horror comedy about a drink that makes employees work themselves to death.
Mm-hmm. Yes. we will get into that for sure, because it's definitely a wild one, and I've got quite a few little questions for you about that movie. But we're going to start off though talking about this movie Appofeniacs, and is this one? Did you know anybody involved in this? Like, I know it's kind of a tight-knit community over there at the FilmQuest Fest.
This was my first FilmQuest, so I didn't know any. Well, I knew a handful of people from other festivals, but I met Chris, the director of Appofeniacs, at Fright Fest, where they did their world premiere in London.
Sure.
And I sat there for the world premiere, and I looked around the audience, and we all just knew. We were like, "Whoa, we just saw a banger! This movie rules!"
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is a wild one, and it's a very assured film, from somebody who you could tell is like, okay, I know what the hell I'm doing here, and I'm making something that's gonna capture the attention of everyone. I could imagine that that premiere that you saw, and just how that how the energy in that room must have been, most likely, for a movie like this. But this is an interesting movie, and I think it'll be a fun one to get into. We're gonna talk influences on this show like we always do, and I mean, I feel like the easy thing to kick this off with is just talk a little bit about some potential Tarantino on this thing, because I feel like there was a lot of Tarantino here, and that's always a good thing. I mean, there was a time in the 90s where there was a little too much Tarantino going on, but I'm always happy to see some Tarantino influence. And I thought, you got things from the from the multiple stories kind of coalescing to the rooms full of people who don't trust each other, which is multiple Tarantino films. Were there any films from him that you were thinking of with this one?
I really did. I was right there with Tarantino. I love that he included the reference to Tarantino within the film. He's like, no, I am making a nod here, structurally. I'm trying this thing out. I also think that he touched on a lot of different cultural interests in this, especially right off the gate. The cold open, I thought, was so fun and unsettling and new, and I haven't seen a lot of that on screen. I don't know what would be a good reference, maybe a little bit Lynchian in how romance was treated in this.
Sure. I could definitely see some Lynch feel in this, and there's moments where you're wondering, are we on the pulse of something that, because this is a very dark movie, and for anybody who hasn't gotten a chance to see it by the time they listen to this episode, I mean, this is basically about a guy who's kind of like stoking all kinds of division between all these different people by using AI deep fakes, or I don't know if AI is the right term, but like deep fake technology to create videos that just are going to make everybody go nuts and fight with each other and turn on each other and friends going against each other and all that kind of stuff. And all kinds of like dark shit happening. And so when you think of something, you know, my starting with Tarantino, you go into Lynch, but you think of a world where communication's kind of breaking down, kind of, and I think that kind of takes you definitely into that Lynch territory.
Yeah, and there's just an element of chaos to it. Like
Yeah,
there is a person that their sole purpose, the thing that gives them joy in life, is just introducing chaos and seeing what happens.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will go to another one here. Another thing that I was thinking about, and this is maybe the dark version of this, but I was thinking about that movie Easy A with Emma Stone, which is like just a total like fun comedy. But the idea of things spinning out of control from a little lie, and all these things are little lies, and they just kind of take on a life of their own, and just everything freaking hits the fan because of these situations. It made me think though of how one little thing is a seed that just kind of grows and grows and grows in that movie Easy A, and how fun of a way to structure a story that is.
Right. I love, yeah, you just take this premise that's really strong and then you just explore a bunch of different avenues. And I think that's a really smart way of constructing a story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really gets to like getting these characters not just what ticks with them, but you know what their ticks are and what like sets them off and what like really gets them to go down the bad paths, which is basically what we want to see here. But what's another one that you thought of?
I don't know. This is going to sound like an odd thing, but I kind of felt like there is a little bit of South Park in the way that he really digs into the things that we are super culturally sensitive about right now.
Mhm.
And I think he does it with, like, because it's people, he has to be more tactful in exploring some of these things, but he definitely does, like, go right into people being worried about being perceived as racist or like being racist or just cultural fears of different groups of people. And I just think like it's hard to address that stuff in a way that people find engaging and people don't just pull out of the narrative right away in a way that I think South Park tends to accomplish pretty frequently.
Yeah, yeah, they're always like right on like the moment, whatever people are talking about, whatever people are worried about, like it's always constantly right there. I think it's a good one. I hadn't thought of that, but I'm glad you brought that up. It's really fun and yeah, it's always been a thing for them, and now it is more than ever. It's like being right there on what people are talking about, and that makes for stuff that you could kind of be like, oh wow, how the hell are they on this like already? Like I use the word AI, and I don't know if the movie explicitly says AI at any point, but like it's more like deep fakes and just like editing things and whatnot. But that's all still very, very prevalent right now at this moment, and something that we're seeing, especially because of AI. We're just seeing so much more and more of it, and it's getting harder and harder to tell. I know my parents are sitting there watching videos all day and have no clue what is true and what's not, and it's just it's a disaster waiting to happen, and we get to live through it every day, which is great.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
just
fun to live through moments where I'm watching stuff and I'm like, it takes me 5 seconds to figure out that it's AI,
that's
and
bad.
that's troubling.
Yeah, it's
Really, like 5 months ago, I could always tell pretty quick,
yeah,
but now with the new Sora stuff, I don't know.
yeah.
It's it's on a razor's edge. That's why this movie feels really timely, important, like great for this moment now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll throw one more in. I'm gonna go with a movie from a couple years ago called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's a really fun movie, and kind of like with your South Park piece, there is like very timely, very of the moment, Gen Z with that movie, and the idea of all these people who are just so worried about like microaggressions and like all this kind of stuff and like the way that they're perceived and everything just hits the fan in that movie again. That's just really where it goes. And the idea of this, like all of these kind of cultural hierarchies all just breaking down and everybody just going at each other's throats because they all either don't want to be perceived as bad, or they don't want to be the bad guy, or they don't want to die in that case, but all for very stupid reasons in a movie like that. It's a fun one, and I definitely saw some hints of this, especially in the story that is taking place at a party, where that's probably the most gory of all of the segments in the movie.
Yeah.
Any others you want to bring up here?
No, I think it's hard to. I think what I really liked about this film is that it did a little bit of Tarantino structure,
Hmm.
um, and maybe like a little bit of like P.T. Anderson, like Magnolia structure.
Sure, sure.
But I really felt like it was fresh. Like the content of it felt very fresh, very new, very now in a way that I really appreciated. And I think that makes it harder to find references that feel, tonal because it did like talking about AI deepfakes and how it will create chaos in our lives right now is something that I just haven't seen a lot of before. Maybe Black Mirror. All right, Black Mirror. I
Yeah,
feel like
sure.
that's a reference that could work for this. But
Yeah.
I think it's tonally different than Black Mirror,
No,
right? It's
totally.
more
Yeah,
fun.
because this is an incredibly dark comedy, basically. I mean, it's
Yeah.
horror, but it's a dark comedy when it comes down to it, and I think that that's a different thing. Like, yeah, and you're right. Like, we're kind of at the cusp for like this stuff is probably gonna like maybe even be overdone. Like, Scream 8 will have a deep fake ghost face or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna see it everywhere, but it hasn't been done that much yet, and it's definitely interesting to see at this moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think any other closing thoughts? Anything on Appofeniacs? I'll actually just like kick it off. I noticed in the synopsis it says Apophenia. It's like confirmation bias, panic attacks, connections between things, and like I'm curious, like that whole idea, and like I think that also is something that's so prevalent to right now, not just like faking things and making people believe things that aren't true, but like just our entire online life culture and lifestyle of like just click, 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 click until you find the thing that works for you. And then you're like, no, see, I told you, this is exactly how everything is. It's a lot of things that are all just kind of pointing towards just kind of where we are right now. And that just goes to like you were just saying about how on the pulse this is.
I think the concept is brilliant because humans are so biologically primed for pattern recognition.
Hmm.
We are ready to find a story that fits within the narrative
Yeah.
that we already have running through our lives and in our heads. And we are spectacularly bad at probability and trying to decipher what data means.
Hmm.
So we love a story, we hate actual reality and data if it's inconvenient to the
Mm.
story that we have going on in our heads. And I think Appofeniacs really explores that idea in a way that's just so entertaining. It's so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap up Appofeniacs, and let's talk about kombucha a little bit. Start us off with a little synopsis for anybody who hasn't gotten a chance to see the movie yet.
Yeah, so it follows a struggling artist and musician, Luke, who is he has a lot of unpaid bills. His life's not going great. He takes a job at the Symbio Corporation, and the Symbio Corporation celebrates those creative types. And everyone at the Symbio Corporation drinks this kombucha that makes them really great at their jobs. It has some pretty grotesque side effects, and it ends up kind of turning you into someone that like a slimy version of yourself
Mm,
by the end.
yeah, absolutely, and it's a lot of fun. Now, there was a short before the feature, right?
Yeah.
So, talk a
Yeah.
little about the transition from short to feature with this.
So Jeff Bakken came to me, the screenwriter of Kombucha. He came to me with the feature length script and he said, I think you should direct this. I think we should make this movie happen. And I read through it and I thought the hook was brilliant. I
Mm,
thought that people are going to really relate to this fear of mass layoffs, this fear of being replaceable, and also just that tension that so many people like I have between pursuing their creative passions
yeah,
and, paying your bills,
yeah,
right? So I love the hook. I thought it was instantly relevant and people would relate to the protagonist. But I thought the core concept is very insane.
Hmm.
Um, a sentient SCOBY, I think, is going to be a tough sell for investors. So we have to get the idea in their head and we have to visually show that it can work. So we made the short film together. We showed it at a bunch of different festivals. And then Take Care Productions, John Conde. Well, after the short film, we reworked the kombucha script because we realized, people kind of like the gross stuff. Maybe we can ramp up that even more.
Sure.
And I think if we did a kombucha sequel, I would turn the volume on that up even more.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, so John Conde, Take Care Productions, saw what we were doing with the short, read through the revised feature length script, and then gave it a green light. And now here we are. It's going to be released on December 2nd.
Awesome. That's great. What was it always kombucha? Like, did it go from kombucha horror to like including all the office stuff, or did it start with office horror and like, well, what is something that they all are kind of being forced towards drinking, and then that's where all the shit goes crazy? Like, which way did that go?
I I think it always had to be both.
Yeah.
Something that we're seeing in a lot of startups, especially like East Coast, West Coast, in Chicago, is kombucha on tap
Oh
as
God.
this thing that's like a nice perk for people at these startups. And you're part of the family, everybody's healthy, wellness, and they really care about your well-being until you are slightly less profitable to the
Hmm.
shareholders. And in that case, you're gone. So yeah, I think kombucha needed to be the drink. It feels much more of the now than coffee, right?
Which is crazy. Like, like that's just so strange to me. But I mean, hey, if somebody out there must be like, "Ooh, this is nice. I get all the kombucha I want." So otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it, right?
Right. And there's also it's the actual chemistry of it is kind of gross.
Yeah.
Like it's bacteria and yeast. The thing is called a mother. Like all of the language surrounding it, we were just like, oh, there's a whole lot to play with here that I think the audience will get on board with.
Yeah, 100%. Are you a kombucha fan at all? I mean, you just called it gross, but I mean,
So, I personally drink
all
kombucha. I
right.
drink a lot less of it since I made the movie,
Yeah, I'm sure.
but I love like ginger flavored kombucha sometimes. Um, but I've read through because of doing research for making this movie, I've read through a bunch of Reddit threads
Hmm.
and yeah, there's some horror stories about what kombucha can do in your GI tract. Um, but yeah, Geoff has never had it. Still to this day, refuses. He's like, "It's too gross. I hate the concept. Not doing it."
Yeah, can't say I blame him exactly. Um, so in the synopsis, it actually says David Cronenberg meets The Office, and I was like, okay, so we're getting into some puzzle pieces right away. In my letterbox review, I said that's all great, but I'm also thinking Inside Llewyn Davis meets The Substance. Are there any particular influences that were like a big touchstone for this movie for you?
Absolutely. Like, I loved the stuff.
Sure,
I
sure.
loved the Blob from the '80s.
Okay,
Like, uh, just these things that kind of take over and they're gooey and gross. And I really do love Mike Judge. So the Office Space was big for me. And
sure.
Silicon Valley, some of the humor we borrowed, I felt like from Silicon Valley. Severance was big.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't watch The Substance until after I made the movie because I would have tried to borrow everything.
Yeah.
Like I love The Substance. It's like the perfect body horror movie.
It's so good. Yeah, it's great. But
Yeah.
I think it's probably inspired by like half of the movies you just listed. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are all things that their influences on kombucha, absolutely, but I think they definitely are influences on the substance as well. And yeah, the stuff especially is like a great one to cite here. I think that works really, really well. But
Mhm.
what about with the with the boss, like with the stealing the seed and all that kind of stuff to create the new creature, like anything that was like touched on with that one at all?
As far as a reference, no.
Hmm.
We just wanted to play with the idea of mother
Sure.
and also the idea of being replaced
Yeah.
and the idea of, like, something taking your life force and trying to replicate it in a way that's kinda shitty and wonky,
Yeah.
and we were trying to, in some way, like, talk about AI allegories just a little bit,
Yeah.
but as far as the execution in that scene, initially, it was written as, like, kind of a big cosmic horror scene,
Hmm.
and it just didn't quite work.
Hmm.
Like, we tried it, we started adding those VFX, and it just read as odd in that moment. So we ended up, like, tightening it down and then ended it on a button, and every time we've shown that button with an audience, people crack up.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think it works a little bit more as, like, off-putting and then comedy button.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I thought a little bit of Alien in there too, but,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, but, definitely
Absolutely.
yeah, building up to that though, that's the way to go. You brought up Office Space earlier and Mike Judge. I another thing I was thinking about with this movie is, like, you know those memes lately about how in the '90s everybody was so upset about their big cushy jobs and, like, now we all wish we just had it that way? I feel like this is a little bit of like a body horror, sci-fi, crazy gonzo version of that idea.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think you just summarized it perfectly. Yeah. I think that's great. That's a great take.
Yeah.
Um, can I write that down?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. So, with speaking of Mother and, some of the visual effects, the practical effects, talk a little bit about, coming up with the design of all it, because I mean, it gets wild and really fun.
Yeah, without spoiling too much, I imagine Mother as cosmic horror.
Hmm.
I thought Mother would be like this otherworldly sentient Cthulhu scobies sitting in a vat. There's an artist from the UK that does these giant scobies, forgetting her name, but they're just so amazing and putrid at the same time. And I said, I want that, but I want it to have tentacles
Hmm.
and to just be, yeah, really gnarly. And we ended up having some fabrication problems, and our practical did not read the way we wanted it to on screen.
Mm.
And I always have to shout out the team from Chicago, Third Beacon, did a complete VFX replacement for our big bad. And I thought it looked good.
Wow.
I
That's
was really happy.
that's interesting. And yeah, how so I on a filmmaking standpoint, like when you have to replace something that big, how does the process go with, like, trying to, like, I don't know, pull the pieces back together?
So my background is in VFX. I worked for Third Beacon before directing this,
Okay.
and I went back to them and I said, "All right, I'm going to be on the assembly line. I'm going to do as many roles as you need me to do because we need like I am not happy with this as is for the end result of the movie." And Kyle Delso designed the creature. Luke Jen animated the creature. We had a small team that did some of the match move, and then I composited everything together. And Jeff Altman did the color to make sure that it fit with our footage.
Hmm.
But yeah, I it was a process, and I'm really glad that I had the VFX chops that I did because otherwise I feel like this would have cost us a lot of money. And
Yeah.
I think Third Beacon, they were very kind with the rate that they gave us on the budget that we had for this film.
Yeah, that is definitely a moment where, it's great to have your background and, like, that's where you're coming from, because that definitely helps with trying to step in and make something work at that last minute for sure. One other thing, I'm myself a music composer, and right off the bat, I thought the music in this was really, really great. Talk a little bit about maybe your relationship with your composer and, like, what you guys were setting out for with this.
Yeah, I talked with 2 composers that worked collaboratively. They were great together. It was Joe Sepka, who I've been friends with since 2nd grade, and he's produced a bunch of rap albums in Chicago, and he also did score for The Flash for Netflix, and
Okay.
he's one of the most talented musicians I've ever met, and he, um we work very well together, And then Steve Howe, who's a punk rock musician in Chicago, amazing musician. He can play every instrument. He's so talented. And we talked about different inspiration for the film. And I said I wanted to feel a little bit like Alex Garland with a little bit of the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I don't know if you've heard the score from that TV show, but I love it.
Okay,
I think
yeah,
it's
I
excellent.
haven't heard that yet. I mean, I love Alex Garland's scores though, like all the scores of his films and whatnot. So yeah.
And then I said, once we get into Mother's Room, let's let the toothpaste out of the tube and go
Okay.
full Carpenter.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
not until that moment.
Yeah, because then everything, yeah, like I said, it's all gone crazy. Like we are in a whole
Yeah,
nother dimension at this point. So absolutely. Well, you said this is going to be getting released in December, right? Are you working on
yeah.
anything else at the moment?
I have another feature that's greenlit
All
with
right.
Take Care Productions. We've already got contracts in line, and we are going to film next summer. It's called The Meat Cute Massacre, and it's inspired by a short that's about a masked woman that uses a dating app to hunt down the developers, the tech bros who made the dating app.
Okay. That absolutely sounds like fun.
Yeah,
I hope things get very violent. Um,
they do.
excellent. Well,
They sure do.
awesome. Awesome. Jake, this has been great. I always end my episodes asking for a recommendation of a movie that you watched recently that you just like to recommend. It could be something new, could be something old, whatever.
Well, I have 3 recommendations this year. Um, Redux. I saw that at Fright Fest. That movie is amazing. If you like Terminator 2, I feel like that one is going to be right in your wheelhouse.
Okay.
After that, watch Appofeniacs, and then on December 2nd, look for Kombucha.
There you go. That is all very good recommendations. Absolutely. Redux. That sounds really cool. So I'm gonna have to check that out for sure.
It's great.
Awesome. Well, Jake, thank you so much for doing the show, and hopefully we can get you back again sometime.
David, this was great. Thank you so much.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Appofeniacs and Kombucha. Thank you to Jake Byers for joining me on that one, and thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you're subscribed. I say it every episode, you got to subscribe, because that way you will find out about all the new episodes as they come out. And we've got plenty of FilmQuest coverage coming, but we also have lots of other episodes that are already recorded and on the way. Recorded one on Predator Badlands this week. Recorded one on, we're going to be recording one on Train Dreams next week. There's so many things to do, plus the live shows. So if you get subscribed, you'll find out about all of them as they come. You can also follow us on social media at PiecingPod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. It's a really fun community of film lovers. None of the usual trolls and internet monsters that you find in other movie groups. My movie group, I keep closed and I keep awesome. I keep just really cool people in there. And if you want to come and talk movies, it is a great place to do it. It's the Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group. And what else do we got going on here? Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up and close us out with a piece of music like I always do. And if you read my Letterboxd review for Appofeniacs, by David Rosen on Letterboxd, by the way, I mentioned that I actually wrote a kind of script for a music video for a track of mine called Enemy from the album A Different Kind of Dream. And the music video would have been very, very similar to what Appofeniacs is. And it's all about this guy alone in his room, just basically just sitting on his computer and stoking division among people on social media by creating all these like deep fakes and just logging into different alt accounts and just causing people to go at each other and just basically getting off on it. And it's just this perverse, gross music video for this dark, heavy song. I actually hired a guy to create this video for me, and he fled with my money. So you probably are never going to get to see that music video, unless maybe he one day comes back and he's like, "Hey, here's the video that you paid me to do." I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe another filmmaker will be like, "Hey, I like that idea. I heard your episode on Appofeniacs and Kombucha, and that sounds like a cool idea. Let's make it happen." And gets in touch with me, and then we start over. That's always a possibility too. But anyway, I'm going to close us out with that song. It's called "Enemy." Hope you enjoy it, and we will be back with more piecing it together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.